Disclaimer. While this video adheres and is guided by OSHA standards and regulations cited throughout the presentation, it is not a replacement for the training you will receive from your supervisors on the field regarding both the site and equipment. The intended use for this orientation video is to introduce new employees to company policies, expectations, and regulations regarding worker safety, practices, and responsibilities. Welcome to Ultimate Removal's employee orientation video. We're going to spend this time informing you on what to expect and what is expected from you from the job. We've narrowed the video into 4 sections: policies, site training, equipment training, and individual responsibilities. You will be expected to be familiar with all of the information discussed when the video ends. Use all of the contents to your advantage to be ready to work on your first day. Thank you for listening. Policies. Our first section covers the do's and don'ts on the job, regulations for your uniform, and other rules that all workers need to follow to represent the company proudly. Number 1. Hard hats. Head protection is required for employees who are exposed to flying or falling objects or to electric shocks and burns. Hard hats must be worn correctly with the bill facing forward. The helmet will be one of many parts of the uniform you'll have to wear every day at work. It is a vital part of your protection. While in the worksite, objects may be dangling from above, tools are being swung, or falls and slips can occur. Hard hats must be worn at all times while on the worksite. Demolition involves a breakdown of all sorts of materials, which leads to debris spreading out of the impact zone of a tool. While the spread is mediated by proper technique, it isn't guaranteed a piece of material won't go further than expected. Caps and other types of hats are not a proper substitute for the helmet the company will provide you with. Safety comes first. If you must take off your helmet to wipe your head, do it in a safe zone away from the work area. Number 2. Eye protection. Eye and face protection is required when there is an inherent risk of eye injury from flying particles, injurious chemicals, or harmful light rays. Safety glasses are the second part of the uniform you must come to work with every day, since the eyes can be exposed to harmful substances and not be cleaned on the spot due to the conditions you'll be working in. Safety glasses must be worn while in the worksite at all times. Substances such as dust and pieces of broken material may disperse into the air while working and affect the eyes. Working without safety glasses is a safety hazard regardless of what your tasks are on the site. Personal sunglasses are not a proper substitute for safety glasses. Safety goggles can be worn over prescription glasses. Remove goggles or glasses only away from an active worksite. If you have to take off your glasses, do it in a safe zone away from the active work area. Avoid touching your eyes with dirty gloves to keep infections and irritation away. Number 3. Ear protection. Hearing protection, HP, is required because the noise levels of many construction operations frequently exceed 90 decibels. Ear protective devices shall be provided and used. Work sites may expose the worker to very loud tools, equipment, and situations. Certain sounds can cause chronic hearing effects if the ear is not protected while they occur. Do not share used earplugs with coworkers. Do not yank earplugs out of your ears. Do not insert earplugs too deeply or too shallow into the ear. Using or sharing dirty earplugs can lead to infections of the ear. Yanking or inserting them incorrectly can damage the inner ear. Do it gently. Besides volume, consider how long you will be exposed to a noise, especially louder ones. Earphones and headphones are not a proper substitute for earplugs provided by your supervisor. Do not use ear or headphones while you are in the work zone. Number 4. Protective footwear. Foot protection is required for workers who are exposed to foot injury from hot, corrosive, or injurious substances, from falling objects, or from crushing or penetrating actions. Your feet are vulnerable to falling objects, stubbing on heavy and hard objects, and slippery floors. Your footwear must protect against all of those potential conditions. Tennis shoes, sandals, flip-flops, or other forms of open-toed shoes are not allowed on the worksite. Footwear must be slip and puncture resistant. Wearing unsafe footwear can lead to sharp objects puncturing through, slipping, tripping, and other hazards. Do not enter the work zone barefoot either. Number 5. Gloves. Hand protection is required for workers who are exposed to skin absorption of harmful substances, cuts or lacerations, abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, radioactive materials, and harmful temperature extremes. Workers should wear the right gloves for the job. Examples include heavy-duty rubber gloves for concrete work, welding gloves for welding, insulated gloves and sleeves when exposed to electrical hazards. Use the right gloves when they are needed. This industry depends on the hands of its workers. Protect yours. Avoid having to work in pain by selecting the adequate gloves that fit snugly and are not too worn out. Number 6. Reporting unsafe conditions. Work sites may present situations in which it is unsafe to perform duties in. These conditions must be reported to your supervisor immediately. Always remember, safety isn't just part of the job, but also your priority. If left unchecked, unsafe conditions can lead to accidents and injuries on the job. It is your responsibility to report as a precaution for your own and others' safety. Ignoring or neglecting unsafe conditions will only result in negative consequences that will be more difficult to deal with than having just dealt with the condition from the start. Once reported, your supervisor will decide the next course of action. Do not assume someone else will report. Take the initiative. Passing on responsibility does not take it away from you. Be a leader out in the site. Take the initiative and keep yourself and others away from harm. Examples of unsafe conditions include, but are not limited to, spills, exposed lines with live electric currents, dangling objects, unrecognized smoke, broken or malfunctioning equipment, unlabeled or mislabeled chemicals, and unsafe practices from others on the worksite. If someone is working incorrectly or irresponsibly in a way that causes unsafe conditions, let them know to avoid accidents. Number 7. No horseplay. Roughhousing, play fighting, inappropriate physical or verbal contact, and other forms of horseplay are not allowed on the worksite or on or in company property. Remember that the company only employs professionals ready to be leaders. Dangerous horseplay puts everyone involved at risk of negative consequences. Horseplay can lead to unsafe and hazardous conditions. Accidents due to horseplay can result in serious injuries for yourself and others around you. It isn't worth putting your or anyone else's safety at risk for the sake of making someone laugh. Horseplay examples include pranks, wrestling, using tools inappropriately, practicing sports on the site, jumping off of platforms, joyriding on equipment. Physical altercations will not be tolerated by the company either. Number 8. Open floor guarding. Floor holes into which persons can accidentally walk shall be guarded by either a standard railing or a floor hole cover of standard strength and construction that is secured against accidental displacement. Not guarding or covering even small openings on the ground can risk the safety of the public or workers. Not guarding open floors can result to accidents involving workers or the public near the site. Remember that your perception of the work site is not the same as anyone else's. A tripping hazard can result in severe injuries for someone carrying sharp, pointy, or rugged, or even fragile objects. The public will not have the same attentive and alert view as the crew and yourself. Guardrails, caution tape, danger tape, cones, labels, and signs are all forms of perimeter guarding that can keep all people on the worksite safe. They're simple, quick, and a clear way to keep a zone safe. Temporary coverings of open floors using drywall, plywood, and other flat surfaces available are allowed as long as you have labeled them clearly to caution. The covering still must be visible to all persons walking near it. This wooden panel was painted to indicate the danger and held down with caution tape to keep it from being dislodged. Number 9. Housekeeping. Used to describe the cleaning of the worksite and the surrounding areas of construction debris, the term also refers to the managing and storing of materials that are used on the project. Keeping these conditions can lead to increased safety, worker health, productivity, and cost-effective practices. Working in a cluttered and messy area will pose tripping hazards and impede a quick evacuation should it be needed. It keeps workers from mobilizing easily with their tools and equipment as well. Neglecting housekeeping can lead to tools breaking or being lost, time wasted, hazards, and accidents. Cleaning your workspace is part of the job and will only benefit you and your crew overall. Demolition isn't just breaking things down. It's also picking those things up and cleaning the zone so that it can be constructed on again. Housekeeping duties include, but are not limited to, sweeping, organizing tools and materials, keeping walkways clear, wiping slippery residue off of equipment, throwing trash or recyclables away in the correct container. To the right, this picture demonstrates how a cluttered work zone will block off entire paths if not dealt with. Trying to get over this pile could easily result in a worker tripping. Clean as you go to make the job easier. The before picture shows how not sweeping the floor can lead to ladders being placed on slippery bases. This is a hazard. All sites must be left cleaned and organized like this zone was when complete. Number 10. Code of Safe Practices. Your supervisor will provide various resources on site to ensure that worker health and safety are promoted. Resources include a first aid kit, safety data sheets, cool water, personal protective equipment, shade, and the right tools for the job. Your footwear, bottoms, lunch, and jackets or sweaters will not be provided. Here is a picture of a worksite hub. Your supervisor will let you know where these are located during safety meetings to make sure you have what you need to stay healthy. Provided in this hub are the following: cool water for your hydration, available at all times. A first aid kit for minor injuries. A fire extinguisher for fires. And extra supplies like gloves should they be needed. You will be provided with a hard hat, safety glasses and goggles if needed, work gloves, company shirts, and an employee manual upon hiring. Hearing and respiratory protection will also be provided when necessary. Remember that your personal protective equipment must be worn at all times while in the site. Number 11. Hazard Communication Program. Employers must develop, implement, and maintain at the workplace a written HazCom program that includes information on labels, warning, safety data sheets, training requirements, and other relevant information. For your safety, the company provides an extensive coverage of what chemicals you might come across in a site. The coverage is most effective when employees report hazardous chemicals to their supervisor. Not all chemicals in the workplace will be labeled. If you come across these, it is your responsibility to report them to your supervisors before continuing your other duties. Paint cans, plastic bottles, and other containers which originally contained harmless substances are often refilled with cleaning chemicals or oils and not relabeled. Report these. The supervisor will determine the next course of action. Working near and with undesignated chemicals can lead to serious health risks through inhalation, direct contact, or swallowing of the substances. Not all chemicals are dangerous, but it is best to reassure yourself of possible hazards. Although some chemicals might be stable while stored, their possible reactions are unknown until identified after being reported. Look out for tanks, canisters, and other containers which have lost their label. Never agitate, hit, or alter any unrecognized chemical. The procedures for handling and treating chemicals and their effects can be found in a safety data sheet. These sheets are kept in a binder available at all sites. Your supervisor will make this binder accessible to all personnel. What the binder looks like and its location will be disclosed during safety meetings. Number 12. Alcohol or drug use on the job. The company does not allow for the consumption of illegal drugs or alcohol during work. The company does not allow for workers to come into work under the influence of these either. Remember that you are representing the company when you come into work, not just yourself. The company will issue random drug testing. If a supervisor reasonably suspects that an employee is under the influence on the job, a drug test will be issued for that employee. Preventing workers from coming in under the influence of illegal substances or alcohol from coming into the site is part of the safety hazard program. Performing your work duties while under the influence can lead to underperformance, destruction of company property, accidents, and serious injuries. It is not worth it. don't lose your job over a mistake that could have been avoided through responsible decisions. Number 13. Heat illness prevention. Heat illness may be mild initially, but can become severe or fatal if the body temperature continues to rise. Supervisors, foremen, and employees should look continuously for signs and symptoms of heat illness in themselves and fellow workers. Heat affects all, regardless of age and state of health. Your age, physical shape, medical history, and experience level do not matter. All workers must stay hydrated to maintain good health. Especially during hot days in the sun, it is crucial for any person to stay hydrated by drinking water. Dehydration can lead to serious health risks, including dizziness, confusion, fainting, and heat strokes. Dry mouth, exhaustion, and dark urine can all indicate dehydration. If you start feeling these symptoms, drink water immediately to avoid a greater risk. Soda, juice, milk, coffee, energy drinks, and high-sugar sports drinks are not a proper substitute for water. Your supervisor will provide cool water and shade on site at all times every day. Don't wait until you are thirsty to drink water. It's recommended that you drink 4 8-ounce cups of water an hour to stay hydrated. Most water bottles like these contain 16 ounces. You can still bring in other drinks, but make drinking enough water all throughout your shift a goal. Drinking water only during your breaks will not meet your body's needs. Frequently asked questions. Can I bring my own tools from home? Always check with your supervisor what personal tools or equipment can be used at work. The company issues tools specifically designed for demolition. Do I have to wear steel-toed boots to work? Not necessarily, but assure that your footwear protects against the rough conditions and terrains you'll face at work discussed earlier. What should I wear from the waist down? Avoid baggy or loose bottoms like active shorts and sweatpants, as these can get caught on edges or protruding objects easily. Most workers agree that comfortable jeans offer the best protection and mobility on site. Can I have tattoos exposed? As long as they are not offensive, you can. Quick check. If I find unlabeled containers with chemicals, I should just put them aside and keep working. True or false? False. Report them to your supervisor before you work near them. What does PPE stand for? PPE stands for personal protective equipment such as hard hats, gloves, respirators, ear and eye protection, and proper footwear. Site training. This will include important information on procedures, expectations, and emergency plans all employees follow to stay on the same page. Number 1. Fire protection equipment. Equipment includes fire extinguishers, hoses if necessary, fixed sprinkler systems, fire alarms, and a fixed water supply. All equipment is regulated and maintained to assure that it functions properly in case of a fire. Firefighting equipment must be freely accessible at all times, placed in a conspicuous location, well maintained. In multiple level buildings, at least one working fire extinguisher will be available at each level. All equipment must be maintained in a designated and known location. Do not use expired or damaged equipment. Do not relocate the equipment without letting the crew and the supervisor know. Using faulty fire equipment can make a fire worse and put you in a greater danger. Relocating equipment inappropriately, even signs, can lead to greater safety hazards for workers in the case of a fire. Do not shut off water supply to the sprinklers unless given the authority to by a qualified person. Do not block fire exit routes at any point. Evacuation routes must remain clear from any clutter or blockage from both sides at all times. Emergency and evacuation procedures. Possible emergencies that require evacuation include major earthquakes, fires, explosions, floods, and excess chemical releases. Evacuation routes must remain clear. If you smell gas leaks and do not recognize the source, let your supervisor know. An evacuation might be necessary. You must be familiar with the evacuation plan set by your supervisor. Be familiar with your worksite to know where emergency exits are located. Planning in advance is rendered useless if procedures are ignored during emergencies. Danger can be avoided when workers are conscious of what to do and responsible by following through with the plans. Follow all directions given to you regarding these evacuations. If you must evacuate, do so in an orderly manner. Avoid using elevators, especially during fires. Meet in the designated meeting place if it is safe to do so. Do not enter the building again until safe. Do not panic, nor cause panic in others. The meeting area is decided during safety meetings every day. Meet there as long as it is safe to do so. And avoid having first responders designating you as missing by not being there. The authorities will decide when the building is safe to enter. Be patient. Do not stay behind to gather your belongings. Call 911 only when you are safe. Do not leave the job site until it has been permitted so by the supervisor. Staying behind for any reason, even dialing 911, can lead to great danger in the case of an emergency that requires evacuation. Your supervisor needs to account for all of the crew. Remain calm. Number 3. First aid. A first aid kit must be provided by each employer on all job sites and must contain the minimum of supplies as determined by an authorized licensed physician. If you use it, make sure to put it back in its place and leave it organized for the next person. The kit's location will not change without the crew being informed. Kits are located at the resource table. Kits include gauze, eye wash, sterile pads, medical tape, alcohol, and band-aids. EpiPens are not available in the kit. Personal medications must be accounted for by each individual. Number 4. Safety data sheets. Employers whose employees may be exposed to hazardous chemicals are required to have a HazCom program. Safety data sheets provide the information on all chemicals in the workplace necessary to properly interact with them. These sheets can save lives in the case of hazardous chemical exposure or allergic reactions. A safety data sheet provides the following: chemical identification, potential hazards, chemical ingredients, first aid measures, extinguishing measures, release measures, how to handle and store the chemical, exposure limits, characteristics of the chemical, reactivity and the stability of the chemical, routes of exposure, symptoms of exposure, effects of exposure, disposal and transportation of the chemical. These sheets will let you know how to identify, deal with, treat, and what to expect from any chemical on the worksite. Safety data sheets are a tool for workers to use when working near or with chemicals. They ensure that a crew knows how to handle a chemical. They provide potential life-saving information for first responders. It could be that a worker has an allergic reaction to a substance containing a chemical or has had overexposure to that chemical. These can be life-threatening situations that can be avoided or mediated through the use of safety data sheets both before or after the incident. A binder with the sheets is carried by all worksite supervisors. The location varies, but it is commonly kept on the supply table or the supervisor's truck behind the passenger seat. Keeping in mind the binder and knowing what chemicals are in your surroundings is all for the well-being of the entire crew. Ask where the binder is kept if you have forgotten where it is kept. Number 5. Safety Information Board. Your supervisor will post a bulletin board filled with information that will pertain to your work site. Use this information as a constant reminder of safety expectations. Get familiar with each sign that you'll be encountering at the site. If you are unsure of what a sign means, ask. Do not remove or alter the board without permission from your supervisor. The board's content changes according to the site and day. Make sure to check it daily to stay informed. Number 6. Toilet and washing facilities. A toilet is required for each 20 employees of each sex. Urinals may be substituted for half of the units. One washing station must be provided for each 20 employees. All worksites have clean and functioning toilet rooms and lavatories. Hand soap will be provided. Hand towels will also be provided. Do not eat or store food or drinks in these rooms. Maintaining the installations clean is a good habit that can prevent contamination, infection, and diseases caused by bacteria. The company will designate portable restroom and sanitizing stations on all sites. Do not use other restrooms on your site unless authorized by your supervisor. Be mindful of others by keeping the facilities clean. Keep equipment and tools out of the facilities. Do not smoke in them. These facilities are shared and must be respected by treating them as if they were company property. Number 7. Equipment storage. All company tools and equipment must be returned to their original storage area. Avoid misplacing tools by keeping track of them at all times. Each tool has its place. Storing them incorrectly can lead to time wasted before, during, and after work. If a tool is missing at the end of the shift, it will need to be looked for. Don't add to your workload by not caring for the tools. Each company truck has a record kept of what has been stored in it. Do not throw equipment or store it inappropriately, as this can cause damages. Secure each item on the truck and do not overpile them. If something isn't stored appropriately in the truck's bed, it can fall out when the truck is in motion on the road. This can cause major damages and accidents. Make sure that the inside of toolboxes are kept organized. Wrap any cables appropriately and avoid tangling them. Assure that power tools and their batteries are replaced in their correct containers. Power tools and batteries are easily broken or rendered useless when they are not cleaned and stored appropriately. Always sweep through your work zone at the end of your shift to assure no equipment has been left behind. You are responsible for returning all tools you use to their correct storage areas, both in the compartment and the truck. Losing tools and equipment affects the whole company, including yourself. Be responsible and do your part in taking care of tools. Number 8. Unique features on site. Each work site is different. Each site's manager has specific conditions they have given to the company. Your supervisor will let you know what these are during safety meetings. There will be shifts where you're in fully operating skyscrapers and others where you're in closed lots. Regardless, the integrity of the site needs to be maintained. Some sites have active workers carrying on their daily activities near the demolition. Some sites require vehicle traffic control. Some sites require internal demolition that will require extensive care of the premises. Site damages can be avoided by practicing safety, good technique while using equipment, and being aware and alert of your surroundings. Emergency exits and plans depend and change according to the site, day, and the time of the day. Always be conscious of where emergency exits are located to be prepared for evacuations. You might be indoors all shift or outdoors. Not all sites are empty. Be aware of chemicals, materials, furniture, structures, and anything else that must be maintained. Always respect the site, its conditions, and its integrity. Do not take anything from the site that was meant to stay. The supervisor will indicate what will be thrown away and what needs to remain on the site. Frequently asked questions. What if I have allergies? Let your supervisor know before beginning work. Chemicals contain ingredients you may be allergic to. It's easier to prevent an allergic reaction than treating one. When may I use the washing facilities? Whenever you need to. Make sure you do not leave any machinery or power tools on and unattended at any point. Quick check. What resource discussed should be used when a reaction to an unknown source occurs? Safety data sheets, SDS, will help figure out what caused the reaction and how to treat it. Some work sites will have operating staff on site while the demolition crew works. True or false? True. Some buildings will continue daily operations while demolition takes place in or near it. Quick check. Attending safety meetings is optional. True or false? False. Safety meetings must be attended every day. I can take company tools home as long as I return them the next day. True or false? False. Company tools must remain on or in company property. Equipment training. This part of the video will introduce you to some of the situations you'll be coming across on the site, as well as the equipment you'll be using and safety measures taking while you use them. Number 1. Respiratory protection. Respirators shall be provided by the employer when such equipment is necessary to protect the health of the employee. The employer shall provide the respirators, which are applicable and suitable for the purpose intended. You won't always need one, but respirators will be provided to you when you do. Keep these clean and avoid contaminating them by wearing them properly at all times. Your supervisor will provide respirator masks, N95s, when they are determined necessary to prevent breathing in dangerous substances. They are part of your personal protective equipment. If you feel that you need a mask even when not advised, you may ask for one. Breathing in dust at demolition sites can cause you to become ill or have trouble breathing. It's best to protect yourself against breathing harmful substances by wearing a respirator while you're in an active work zone at all. For this reason, your supervisor will provide you a mask even if you don't need it but want one. Some respirators are single use. Others can be worn multiple times. Do not share your respirator. The company has higher quality respirators available for purchase if desired. There are various types of respirators, but some are not meant to be used more than once due to the material they are made of. Sharing respirators can lead to spreading illnesses and is not hygienic. Number 2. Signs. Safety, danger, and instruction signs must be considered and followed at all times. Do not remove or alter signs unless told to by your supervisors. Signs keep anyone exposed to them aware and alert of what is around them. They are a form of caution that helps maintain safety. It isn't just your safety, but the public's as well. If your supervisor instructs you to place signs, consider the following. Location. Will the sign obstruct production or traffic? View. Can those who need to be aware and see it? Clarity. Is it clean and legible? Perspective. Does it clearly relate the conditions trying to be cautioned to the public and other workers? Number 3. Barriers. Where a hazard exists to employees because of traffic or haulage conditions at work sites that encroach upon public streets or highways, a system of traffic controls shall be required so as to abate the hazard. In addition to signs, channelizing devices help keep all of those near or on the site safe. Channelizing devices include tubular markers, cones, drums, vertical panels, and barricades. You will use the appropriate device according to each situation or what is available. These devices are used to direct both foot and vehicle traffic near a work site when necessary. They provide safety for both the public and the crew. They help maintain the integrity of the work site. Without these devices, car and foot traffic would have to be directed manually at all times. Setting these up correctly leads to a more efficient and safe way of guiding the public. Do not remove or alter the devices unless told to by your supervisor. If devices are altered, reposition them immediately in their correct position. Remember that these are placed to keep the public safe. While you may be familiar with the work zone, the public might not always be sure as to how to get around it. Barriers let them know appropriate routes to take. Number 4. Flagging. Employees on foot exposed to the hazard of vehicular traffic shall wear warning garments such as vests, jackets, or shirts. A flagger is exposed to oncoming traffic and must be located safely to avoid accidents but still be able to direct vehicles efficiently. Flaggers redirect traffic when necessary near a work site. If asked to flag, your supervisor will provide a vest and necessary signs. Do not flag without proper equipment or in an inappropriate form. Flagging is another form of protecting both the public and the workers on or near a work site, but it must be done correctly to avoid causing possible dangers. Flaggers keep driving vehicles from being damaged, pedestrians from getting hurt, workers safe, and maintain the integrity of the work site. Do not leave your flagging post until told to by your supervisor or a danger poses itself. Again, perception is key. Flaggers help keep the public safe. If you do flag, do it with the safety of everyone involved in mind. Number 5. Personal fall protection equipment. A personal fall protection (PFP) system prevents a worker from falling, or if the worker is falling, stops the fall. PFP systems include guardrails, safety nets, personal fall restraint systems, personal fall arrest systems, and positioning device systems. Falling from any height is extremely dangerous. There are various types of personal fall protection. We will be discussing the two you will be using most to avoid falls. Guardrails are required to guard the open sides of all work surfaces that are 7.5 feet or higher, or workers must be protected by other means. Again, falling from any height is extremely dangerous. Guardrails must be in place before you ever work on any elevated platform that exceeds a 5-foot drop distance to keep you from falling over. Guardrails can prevent workers from falling and getting seriously injured. Guardrails and platforms must both be properly examined before being used. If you notice something unsafe about the guardrail or the platform, inform your supervisor before using it. Major damages in guardrails can cause the whole system to fail. Supervisors depend on their workers to report broken or damaged equipment to then replace it. Check for bends, breakage, or missing components in the guardrails. Do not work on a platform without guardrails unless a safety net system or personal fall arrest system, a harness, is in place. You may ask to use a harness even when there is a guardrail in place. Risking your health and life are not worth avoiding putting a guardrail in place or wearing a harness. Do not let your co-workers work this way either. Report it. Falls are one of the leading causes of major injuries in this industry. Don't be another statistic. Use fall protection equipment at all times when required. You may be asked to work from great heights. While it can be exciting, safety must remain a priority. Notice how this employee is wearing a harness, even when a guardrail is in place. In addition, the platform is not cluttered, and there is enough space to move around comfortably in. Continuing on with personal fall protection equipment. A personal fall arrest system, PFA, is used to stop an employee during a fall from a working level and to keep him or her from hitting a lower level or structure. The system consists of an anchorage, connectors, and a body harness. Harnesses are the second form of personal fall protection covered here. They are individually used and a great way to ensure you are safe in the event of a fall. The company provides harnesses for employees to use after having been trained to do so. You cannot use a harness until your supervisor has trained you to do so. Using a harness incorrectly and falling can be just as or even more dangerous than falling without one. The training you'll receive from your supervisor will teach you how to wear a harness and attach it safely. Adjust and wear the harness correctly to avoid injuries and accidents. Inspect your equipment by checking for loose buckles, worn out ropes and straps, major cracks on rings, and secure attachments. Take an extra minute to check for these instead of risking your safety once you begin working. Number 6. Scaffolds. Scaffolds must be provided for work that cannot be done safely by employees standing on ladders or on solid construction that is at least 20 inches wide. Scaffolds are equipment that combine platforms with guardrails that can be stacked or elevated to reach higher altitudes without using ladders. Regulations for these are vast and must be followed to retain safe usage. Only workers who have been properly trained can assemble scaffolds. Do not assemble scaffolds until your supervisor has confirmed you are qualified to do so. While it may look simple, assembling scaffolds takes proper training to ensure that they do not pose a danger when being used. Each scaffold system can be different and has its own limitations and specifications. Weight limits differ, and certain scaffolds cannot be combined. Do not force in scaffolds that do not match. If it doesn't fit smoothly, it doesn't fit. Once you are trained by your supervisor to assemble these, always follow guidelines and do not overload scaffolds or attempt to fit pieces incorrectly. Wheels must be locked before anyone can use the scaffold. Do not climb the scaffold inappropriately. Do not use unstable objects as platforms on scaffolds. Doing this will increase the chances of workers on the scaffold getting hurt, or the whole system collapsing and causing major accidents. Do not use ladders on top of scaffolds unless the supervisor has allowed it. Report any physical damage that keeps the scaffold from functioning correctly and do not use it. Irregular and damaged scaffolds will be replaced by your supervisor, but workers must identify and report these first. The need for a guardrail system and harness depends on each situation the scaffold will be used in. Do not jump off of a scaffold regardless of its height. A qualified person must inspect them before using them. Setting up scaffold takes time, but inspection must always take place. Number 7. Use the proper tools. Each tool provided by your supervisor has an intended use. Use the tool you need, not the one you can think, substitute it. Do not use equipment you haven't been trained to use. Find the tool that is made for the task you are completing instead of cutting corners and using the one nearest to get the job done quickly. Do not sacrifice quality work for speed. If you're unsure as to how to use something, You must ask for training to avoid causing damages. Use all tools or equipment correctly. Using the wrong tool can lead to the following: damaged or broken equipment, injuries, and a damaged site. Don't ignore guidelines for using tools and equipment. Overconfidence with machines will lead to unsafe practices that can cause major accidents and will have to be dealt with legally. Number 8. Tag defective tools. If a tool is broken and has not been tagged, tag it clearly, immediately. Using defective tools is a safety hazard. Ask your supervisor how you'll be tagging defective tools and turn in defective tools. These are an example of tags that are used in the industry. If a tool has one wrapped around it, it has been rendered faulty and must be fixed by a qualified person before it can be used again. Red tape around a tool or piece of equipment, like on the right, is a common way to tag faulty equipment temporarily. Don't use anything that has been tagged this way. Malfunctions from tools can lead to injuries, even when the tool was being used correctly. Number 9. Electrical safety. Identify exposed or concealed energized electric power circuits if any person, machine, or tool might come into contact with the circuit. Do not cut any electrical wiring until power has been shut off. Circuit shortage, electrocution, and fires can occur if you touch any exposed wire or cable line with a live current. Never assume, always know power has been shut off. Always inspect that electricity has been shut off from the object you are taking down or working near. Do not operate electric equipment while standing in water. Do not try to fix any electrical component unless trained to. Electrical components cannot be tampered with if you have not been trained to do so, since these can also cause electrocution, fires, or shortages if done incorrectly. Protective equipment or devices must be used to protect employees if a recognized hazard exists. Use the tools the supervisor provides to detect voltage before beginning work tasks near or with electrical components. Supervisors have voltage detectors available on all sites for workers to check power supply before they begin working. Number 10. Ladders. Always inspect a ladder before climbing it. Do not climb defective ladders. Clean any slippery substances off ladder steps. Do not carry anything while on a ladder that might cause you to lose balance. There are various ways of using a ladder incorrectly. This image shows just a few of them. These are all safety hazards. Don't do them. Keep one hand and 2 feet on the ladder while climbing. Face the ladder while climbing. Do not jump off of the ladder. Ladders must be placed on stable surfaces. Make sure that all 4 legs of the ladder are on the same platform base and not on an uneven one. Even small debris under a ladder can cause it to topple over while someone is on it. Never shift, move, or extend a ladder while someone is on the ladder, including yourself. Do not place a ladder where it is in the path of a moving vehicle. Do not step on the or climb the 2 top steps of a ladder. Notice how this person only has 1 foot and no hands on the ladder. This can cause the ladder to slip from under him and lead to a fall. Do not tie ladders to objects, including themselves, in order to make them stable. Do not overreach while on a ladder. Do not sit on ladders. Do not use ladders as platforms on scaffolds. Overreaching like this can cause the ladder to fall back on you. Get down and place it where you need to instead. Do not stack ladders to make them taller either. Again, use a ladder the way it was designed to, not in the ways these people are. These are all extremely dangerous methods that can lead to severe accidents. Some forms of incorrect ladder use are obvious, others aren't. Either way is still a safety hazard that is not allowed on the site. They're easy to use, but also easy to misuse. Ladders are not as versatile as some might want them to be. Use them correctly for your own safety. Don't risk your life. Frequently asked questions. Should I throw broken equipment or tools away? No. Always tag, report, and turn in broken or malfunctioning equipment to your supervisor. If I already have construction or demolition experience, do I still need to be trained? Your supervisors must confirm your training before you use certain tools and perform certain tasks. Quick check. All scaffolds can be combined as long as someone is careful on them. True or false? False. Not all scaffolds can be attached together. Forcing scaffolds to combine is a safety hazard. Which is not a channelizing device? A. Cones. B. Drums. C. Caution tape. D. Tubular markers. C. Caution tape. Caution tape alone cannot be used to redirect traffic. Quick check. What resource discussed should be used when a reaction to an unknown source occurs? Safety data sheets, SDS, will help figure out what caused the reaction and how to treat it. Individual responsibilities. The final slides will discuss your duties as an employee on site and in or on company property, as well as giving you some general tips for work. Number 1. Take responsibility. Take initiative in reporting unsafe conditions. If you break or cause equipment to malfunction, inform your supervisor. Report any site damages immediately. Unsafe conditions can result in accidents. You must be sure that they don't go unattended. Breaking tools or damaging a site will be an easier situation to manage when responsibility is taken quickly to avoid misunderstandings down the road. Be productive without cutting corners. Keep track of your schedule, tools, and health. Do not take any company property home. The fastest and easiest way isn't always the correct or safe form of accomplishing your duties. Don't neglect efficiency for speed. The shift is long. Don't forget to tend to your rest, hydration, and your responsibilities. Taking company property home without consent will have negative results. When in doubt, ask. Your supervisor and crew are there to help you. Safety comes first. You're not in this alone. Your co-workers will ease you into tasks you're not familiar with. If you're still confused after a specific training, Let your supervisor know it is not safe to perform your duties in an unsure manner. Number 2. Make safety a habit. Safety promotes productivity, good health, and a secure environment. Come to work prepared and alert. When safety is practiced at all times, it becomes a second nature. You'll be more productive, alert, and capable of detecting unsafe conditions when you know how to be safe. Accidents can be avoided when safety is a priority. Don't rely on others to check you. Rely on yourself. Check yourself. Relying on others is relying on forces out of your control. They're busy too, so rely on yourself to recognize unsafe practices or conditions. Accidents will be less probable when everyone has themselves accounted for. Number 3. Participate in all safety meetings. Usually held before all other work duties begin. You must attend every day since circumstances change. Address any concerns, doubts, or questions you may have. Your supervisor will lead these before anyone begins the day's work. They are mandatory because crucial information is given then. It's your chance to go over any questions or doubts you have before you begin working that day. These meetings will let you know the following: your duties, unique features on the site, your schedule, locations of resources, emergency plans. Missing out on these will leave you unprepared for the day. What, when, and how you'll be doing things, as well as your scheduled breaks, will be given. Most importantly, evacuation and emergency procedures will be established. It's unsafe not to know these. If you're absent to the meeting or late, you'll be lost the rest of the day until your supervisor takes time away from his or her duties to catch you up. Don't be late. Number 4. Dress appropriately. Wear your personal protective equipment at all times. Wear your uniform. Avoid baggy clothing, wearing jewelry, and leaving long hair loose. It is not allowed while working with machinery. PPE must be worn at all times in the worksite. Wearing uniform company shirts leads to a stronger cohesion in the crew. Wearing anything loose is a safety hazard, since these can become caught on machines or work zone debris. When dressing up, consider the following: weather. How windy, cloudy, or rainy will it be that day? Temperature. How hot or cold will it get? Sun exposure. How long will you be out under direct sunlight? Particles in the work zone. Long sleeves and pant legs can help protect against skin-irritating substances. Mobility. Is your clothing fitted for you to perform duties comfortably in? Number 5. Have proper rest. Every year, dozens of workers die, and thousands more become ill while working in extreme heat or humid conditions. There are a range of heat illnesses, and they can affect anyone, regardless of age or physical condition. You will not be asked to continue working if you are feeling exhausted or sick beyond working capabilities, but you must let someone know if you're feeling ill or too exhausted to continue. Avoid exhaustion by breathing properly, resting at home, and being energized. Do not rely on breaks to drink water. Stay cool. Do not overwork yourself. It's okay to have a sit before your break is scheduled to catch your breath quickly and get back to work. Drink water all throughout the shift. Stay cool by wearing clothing that covers you from the sun and allows you to sweat. Don't ignore your body. Listen to it. Do not lay down near or dangerous equipment or an active work zone. Do not use equipment as a bed or as a source for shade. Keep an eye out for your peers. If you will be resting between shifts on your break, don't make it a hazard for yourself and others. Ask your supervisor where a good spot is safe to lay in. If you notice a peer fading, let them know and have them rest and catch their breath. Sleeping on equipment is an irresponsible hazard that can result in severe accidents. Never sleep on any machinery. Come to work rested from home. It's an easy way to stay awake. Number 6. Be aware of your surroundings. Identify unsafe conditions and hazards. Keep the integrity of the site in mind at all times. Be alert for the misuse of tools and equipment from others. Remember that you're responsible for maintaining safety and not putting others or the site in harm's way. Cover site sections that need to be protected, like this elevator panel being covered to prevent scratches. If someone is misusing tools or working unsafely, let them know. Check on your peers. Keep an eye out for pedestrians on or near the site. Know what safety measures are required for your tasks. Avoid distractions. You have to know how and where you're working. Being conscious of your surroundings and how to deal with them keeps everyone on or near the site safe. Distractions can easily lead to unsafe conditions. Avoid the following: using your phone, loud music, losing track of time, neglecting housekeeping, and having personal conversations instead of working. All of these distractions can lead you to losing focus of what is happening around you and cause loss of productivity or accidents. There's a time and a place for everything. Number 7. Stay alert. Staying alert will allow you to notice, identify, and deal with unsafe conditions promptly. Recognize confined spaces unsafe to work in for extended periods. Assure electric currents are shut off when needed. Performing the same tasks for long periods can become too automatic and lead to losing sight of your other duties. Always assess your work zone to notice any possible hazard and deal with it promptly. Number 8. Lifting. Use your legs, not your back. Using your back strength will cause injuries. Keep your back straight when squatting or kneeling to lift. Don't lose proper form throughout the whole lift. Use the strength in your lower body to push yourself up. Push straight up with your legs, not your back. Do not yank your back up or curve it over with your legs straight. Injuries can keep you from working. OSHA does not have a standard which sets limits on how much a person may lift or carry. However, there are various factors to consider. Get a good grip with both hands. Are you able to grasp the object adequately to carry it? Weightlifting habits are not a proper measurement for the weight you can lift at work. Weightlifting is stable and more controlled. Ask for help if needed. Your peers will always lend a hand to avoid injuries or accidents. Consider the objects. Weight. Even small objects can weigh more than you should lift. Size. Lighter objects can be too long or wide for just one person. Dimensions. Are there enough areas for you to grip onto? Carry time. How long will you be carrying the object? The path you will be carrying the object in. What obstacles are in it, like stairs? And the fragileness of the object. Can it break easily? Always check for sharp edges or sharp objects coming out of what you're lifting. Rusty nails and rebar are common to be lodged into demolished materials. Not checking for them could lead to cuts and other wounds. Number 9. Report injuries immediately. Inform your supervisors of workplace injuries as soon as possible. Report a co-worker's injuries if they are not able to. Do not continue working if severely injured. It is your responsibility and duty to let your supervisor know you've been severely injured on the job as soon as it happens to better control it. Do not let yourself or co-workers continue on if severely injured. If bleeding, stop working immediately and address it. Use first aid kits if necessary. Dial 911 if an emergency. Perform duties as trained to in order to avoid injuries. Even small cuts can cause large quantities of blood to be spilled onto the site and equipment. This is a hazard. Clean up any blood spilled. If any injury is severe enough, dial 911 immediately. Injuries can be avoided when a worker is alert and practicing their safety habits. Frequently asked questions. If I break a tool or equipment, do I have to pay for it? Not if it was an accident. Always use tools correctly though. Can I have exposed tattoos? Again, yes, as long as they are not offensive. Is there a refrigerator on site to store my food? There isn't. Shade will be available to place pails or coolers under, but not refrigerators. Quick check. Attending safety meetings is optional. True or false? False. Safety meetings must be attended every day. I can take company tools home as long as I return them the next day. True or false? False. Company tools must remain on or in company property. Always remember your training is for your safety. Good luck on the field. And welcome to the company. Thank you for listening.